Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case I'm going to be talking about today is the unsolved disappearance of Kyle Fleischmann. Kyle was actually born on the 9th of September and he lived in Charlotte in North Carolina. And by all accounts he just recently got his first job and moved into his first home, so he was really excited to do these things. I'd just like to give my normal disclaimer. I mean, no disrespect to anyone I'm going to talk about today. The information I've gathered is from the internet and it is for educational purposes. And hopefully we can spread the word and maybe find out what happened in some of these cases. Like I said, he got his first job. His first job was actually as a healthcare recruiter. And with getting his new house, things were really going upwards for Kyle at this moment in time. However, only a month before he actually went missing, his mother was diagnosed with cancer. Obviously, a cancer diagnosis for anyone is absolutely devastating news. And you just feel so frightened and not knowing what will happen. But the family tried to stay positive, which obviously you need to do. And they vowed to battle this cancer together. So the family were all going to fight this together and they were going to stay positive despite the unfortunate circumstances they found themselves in. Kyle and his family actually arranged for his mum to attend a comedy concert to basically cheer her up before she went for her first surgery. And this was on the 8th of November in 2007. They all went to this comedy show, they really enjoyed themselves, they had a fantastic time, nobody had any worries, Kyle was happy, his mother was ecstatic, she'd had such a good time. But Kyle actually said that after the comedy he was going to go to a bar with his friends called the Buckhead Saloon. His mum said, okay, yep, go and have a good time. But little did she know that this would be the last time she saw Kyle again. Kyle was drinking, he was partying, he was having fun with his friends like anyone would on a normal night out. His friends actually said that Kyle wasn't absolutely wasted in a sense. He still could look after himself, he was aware of his surroundings, he wasn't that drunk that he couldn't function or make the decisions for himself. It was around 1 AM when Kyle's friend Daniel went to the bar, paid the tab and decided that he'd had enough, that he was going to go home. So he told Kyle and asked if he wanted to come, if he was going home or if he was staying. Now at the time Kyle was actually talking to a girl and Kyle said, no, I'm going to stay, which Daniel didn't think there's anything wrong with that. Obviously friends do split up and he was happy, he was talking to a girl, he wanted to stay out longer, so Daniel can't force him to come home. So he went home. Kyle's dad woke up in the morning and noticed that he'd had some missed calls off Kyle. He wasn't really worried about that. He just assumed that maybe he'd phoned him by accident or he'd pocket dialed him or he was drunk. Maybe he just wanted to chat to him for a little bit, so he just wasn't really concerned by it. When his friend Daniel woke up, he realised the same. He'd had some missed calls off Kyle. Again, he wasn't really worried about it. He'd seen him that night, the night before, and he was having fun. So he didn't really think much of that either. It was when he actually got up that he discovered Kyle's car was still in his driveway. And that's when he thought something wasn't quite right. So he rang Kyle's roommates, basically to speak to Kyle to see whether he was okay, see whether he'd come home. And they told him that Kyle hadn't come home. And finding out this information, Daniel didn't mess around. He instantly rung Kyle's parents to let them know he still wasn't home. He couldn't get hold of Kyle, his car was still in the driveway, and Kyle's mum actually said that her mouth instantly went dry. She knew something was wrong straight away. None of them had heard anything from him, and his dad also got a really bad feeling about it. They reported Kyle as a missing person, and obviously the police launched a full investigation. But the police did struggle. You've got to remember that they didn't have much to go on. Really, Daniel was the last person who knew Kyle to see him, and he'd left already. So apart from seeing him in that bar talking to that girl, he didn't know anything else. He'd not heard anything else off him. So they didn't really have much information to go on. And it's not like there was a crime scene or anything like that. So they did find it difficult. Obviously his family and friends wanted to help. They did set up a missing persons page on Facebook straight away to try and spread awareness, and in case anybody knew any information, to obviously contact them or the police. And this actually did result in a lot of volunteers coming forward to try and help them. They put out missing person posters. and just generally helped to search for Kyle. Everyone seemed to come together to look for him, all the community, strangers, friends, family, they all just wanted to find him. Kyle's mum and dad actually didn't stop with the police or the community. They actually hired a private investigator as well. And this was mainly to aid the police. The private investigator was aiming to try and piece together a timeline as to what actually happened to Kyle on that night. They found what Daniel had said corroborated. Kyle was talking to the girl. Daniel went over, spoke to them, and then he left. Obviously that was when Kyle told him he didn't want to go. But then a little later on, two guys actually approached him, and they couldn't tell if they were arguing. They couldn't really confirm it. They don't really know what was said by these two guys to Kyle. At around 2:20 a.m, they found Kyle leaving on some CCTV footage, and he doesn't seem too drunk. He doesn't seem absolutely paralytic. He's not stumbling around or anything. That would indicate that he was absolutely wasted. On the night, Kyle did actually forget his jacket and his bank card in the club. Now that has led people to believe that he was wasted, because why would you forget your card of all things? You're going to need your money, your jacket. They thought that maybe he was obviously too drunk to even think about these things, that he was too intoxicated, and it just clouded his mind. But when the private investigator actually looked into this, they said that they could see this girl leaving the club, and it was as if Kyle was kind of running to try and catch up to her and speak to her, and then they were caught on the cameras outside across the road actually speaking. So this is why he could have maybe forgotten his stuff and not realised, because he was just chasing her. He wasn't actually planning on leaving at that time. He was just running after her. Kyle then sets off down the streets. Kyle then went down the streets, and then a cashier has confirmed that Kyle actually entered his shop. He owned a takeaway called Fuel Pizza, I think, and even Kyle's mum and dad believed that it would have been Kyle. And the takeaway was in the direction where Kyle was last seen, heading down that way in the CCTV footage, so it would actually marry up. And a lot of the time, when people do go out, they do get the munchies after. They do want, after alcohol, to go and get some food. So it would make logical sense for him to actually go to a takeaway after being on a night out. Like I said previously, they had missed calls off Kyle, so the police looked into his phone records and found that he'd made 8 phone calls. But I don't think on any of these he'd actually left a voice. They traced the pings of these calls and said that the last ping was actually a few feet away from a bridge that was in a well-known place to be a bad part of town. And by all accounts, Kyle knew not to go near this part of town, and especially not to go there at night. It had a very bad reputation for things such as drugs and things like that, and crime. But he seemed to be heading to this part of town just as his phone died after that last ping. Again, Kyle knew not to go there. There's a lot of questions as to why he was heading here. Was he in trouble? Who knows? But police did continue the search. They followed down every lead to try and find Kyle. They even brought in sniffer dogs, and they did seem to pick up his scent. So when the sniffer dogs did pick up his scent, they actually made a loop around the bar that he was at, which was strange. Why, after a night out, would you walk the entirety of the bar, of the outside of the bar? I'm not sure about that one. But they also came across a homeless man who apparently told them that Kyle was killed in the park, but he didn't know where his body was. They brought the dogs back, and again they picked up his scent. And the people that they actually brought in with the dogs were kind of specialist people. And when they started going towards this bad area of town, because they weren't the police, they didn't really feel safe, and they actually called off the search themselves in fear of their own safety. They did try again the next day, and the dogs actually went to a construction site, and the person that was with them actually said that they could smell something horrendous that smelled like death. Now, whether this was a person, an animal, it could have been either, but it was quite strange that the dogs actually led them there in the first place, and then this smell that accompanied it. They looked everywhere but couldn't find anything. They looked for the origins of the smell and they couldn't locate it. The lot was empty and just completely full of mud. The police brought in cadaver dogs and technology where they can scan kind of the underground and see whether any of the earth has been dislodged, where maybe a body could have been placed, a grave could have been dug, but they again couldn't find anything. And actual apartment blocks were built on the lot. So then there was nothing they could do after that anyway. Whether they had to dig out some of this to lay foundations, or how much they had to dig out, if there was a body under there, maybe it would have become uncovered, who knows. Or maybe if Kyle was under there, that his body was a lot further down. Again, I'm no expert, I don't know how far you have to go down for foundations and things like that. But potentially if his body was there, maybe it was further down and that's why he was never discovered. But if his body is in there, it probably never will be now if there are apartment blocks on the lot. Obviously, I'm not saying that that's where Kyle is at all. It's just a potential idea as to what could have happened. It's just, I find it strange that the cadaver dogs led them there and there was this awful smell. Since then, there's been no real leads or evidence as to what happened to Kyle. And obviously, with unsolved cases, there are generally a lot of theories. Most people do believe that it was a case of him being in the wrong place at the wrong time and it was maybe a crime of opportunity, rather than more of a planned attack. And this is probably most likely the case. Some people think Kyle may have been lured there or went to try and get something. Other people think that when Kyle actually got to the park, that some people jumped and robbed him and then potentially killed him. The fact is that we just really don't know. This is all speculation and nobody actually knows. But somebody out there does actually know. Somebody out there will have some information as to what happened to Kyle. And that's why we need to spread the word of these cases, these missing people where the family just doesn't have a clue what happened to him. Did he just run away, which is highly unlikely for Kyle, or was he killed? Who killed him? Where is his body now? This information his family desperately seek. And hopefully one day they will get the answers. A lot of people do believe that Kyle was killed that night, and unfortunately, it's probably one of the more likely things to have happened because it's highly unlikely that he ran away or whatever. His mum was fighting cancer. She had a massive battle ahead. They were going to fight it together. Surely he wouldn't have just run away from his troubles. Surely he wanted to be there, which he did. He said it for his mother to help her fight. So I do think that potentially he may have lost his life that night. And as sad as it is, his family just want to know what happened to him. And I really do hope that one day, if he was unfortunately killed, that someone comes forward with information, that whoever did it maybe can face a justice as to what they did and they can finally bring Kyle home and bury him like he deserves. And looking into the case, like I said, that area was quite a bad area. It had a reputation. So people who could have potentially been a witness may have been frightened to death to come forward for their own safety, which is completely understandable. But again, I've seen people in the same situations who have actually come forward and gathered the courage to do so. So maybe one day someone will. If I've missed any information on this case, please do let me know. Please let me know your thoughts and theories as to what happened to Kyle that night. Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any cases that you want me to look into, please do also let me know on that. But anyway, guys, that's all I have today on the disappearance of Kyle Fleischmann. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!